All right, let's go take a look here at this Bife video. I'm interested in the lore. What is Marathon? An intro to the setting, lore story of Bungie's next shooter. This is a video made by Bife. Let's do it.
Greetings everyone, my name is Bife here. So, a few days ago Bungie revealed their not so completely new IP, Marathon. I say not
This is an old video, by the way, but still.
so completely new because of course they've always held the rights to the original Marathon trilogy, a series of games that was published almost 30 years ago. Today, I'm going to be talking about this brand new universe for many of us, and talking a little bit about the old bones of lore that it is built upon. And I've got to say, I'm incredibly excited to do so. Under normal circumstances, I am just a lore channel, but when it comes to this IP, I think I need to go a little bit broad before introducing the lore and story of the game properly. Marathon has some seriously awesome story elements to its world, and if you were watching the reveal trailer, the teaser that was recently released by Bungie, you might not have truly understood what was going on screen without diving into the lore and story of the original trilogy of games. Veterans of the series know better than I that that's a pretty terrifying rabbit hole to explore, so I'll be keeping it simple for this video.
I'm not gay, but I would leave my non-existent wife for Bife's voice. That's fair.
Suffice to say, whatever I say here is only scratching the surface, and where the lore is concerned, we're better for it. We can keep this brief now, but consider this the broadest and most basic possible introduction to the world of Marathon. But first, a word from our sponsors at Manscaped. Father's Day is coming up, and so instead of getting your dad a tool for the garage or the tool for the garden, how about you instead get him a tool for his, tool, I guess. Manscaped is trusted by millions of men worldwide for daily hygiene, and it's a great gift for Father's Day.
Bife's doing this Manscaped ad way better than us.
4.0, which comes with skin-safe technology that helps reduce cuts and nicks, giving you the confidence you need when trimming the grass down there. And if you're looking to trim up top, why not try the Weed Whacker 2.0 to keep your ear and nose hair under control as well. Both of these are included in the Performance Package 4.0, which also comes with the Crop Reviver and Crop Preserver to help spruce up your nads, as well as some boxer briefs and the travel bag to put it all in. Right now you can get all of this for 20% off at the link in the description.
Hell yeah.
Thanks again to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. So I know that I've already said a whole bunch of things, but if you are getting into this franchise for the first time, here are some things you really might want to know that have nothing to do with the actual inside of the game story. These are things that might help you regardless. The first of them, which I want to bring to your direct attention, is that you can actually play Marathon today. It's not lost somewhere on someone's old Mac. If you want to play the original trilogy of games, then Aleph 1 is the way to go. Aleph 1 is a port and remake of the original Marathon that has been done to preserve it, and it's available on PC, Mac and Linux, and runs smoothly on modern hardware now. It also includes things that were missing from the original, such as widescreen support, the ability to play at a higher FPS than 30, and the ability to adjust your FOV. If you want to experience the story of Marathon, then you can get this now. It is the best way to do it. It is maintained by a very passionate community, and what's more, it is completely free.
Wasn't the original Marathon you couldn't look up with your mouse? Or did I misread that? Was it arrow key or something like that you had to go up and down when you aimed? Like Doom? You use keyboard keys? Wow. Is Marathon actually a good game, guys? Like it looks ancient as hell, just to let you know. But I mean, do you walk away? Could I play this today and walk away from it going, that was a wonderful experience? It's got insane lore. It's too old to enjoy it. That's a shame, right? Well, if it's just the lore, then I'm just going to watch lore videos.
Just remember, these games did a lot of firsts, including things like dual-wielding weapons akimbo and freely aiming your mouse in order to shoot your gun in the place you want it to look at. So yeah, there are some things that are completely novel here. It will feel a little clunky, and there are some things that are going to be missing generally, which you would take for granted in any other FPS, such as reloading. What can I say? It was the 90s. Games were very different back then. The other thing that absolutely needs to be noted is that as a Destiny lore content creator, I'm sort of stepping on some hallowed ground here. And that's because there has been a long-running and passionate community of older Bungie fans that have been discussing the story of Marathon and speculating about it for almost 30 years. There are websites that still update on a regular basis that discuss the lore to this day. And I want you all to remember that the last time this series had a release was 1996. There are people who have been doing this in the last Game 2 release 20 years ago, plus a few. There are people who adequately demonstrate that the writing in Marathon is so compelling that they are only just getting to grips with it, and they have sat down with it for years. The moment I made the decision to talk about Marathon lore, I was always going to be standing on the shoulders of these giants. So my promise to them is that wherever possible, and if ever one of your theories makes it intentionally into my video, I will cite you as a source, and I will see what I can do to shine a spotlight on you. However, I can't do that all the time, and the reason being is because, well, the internet 30 years ago was very different. To put it really bluntly, some of you back then were still using your personal email as your online alias, and yeah, me putting that on screen in front of 100,000 people seems like a great way to have your email nuked by the wrath of 1,000 bots. I imagine these hot singles in your area emails are less enticing when they're actually just being sent by a bunch of compilers. So, yeah,
no, it's
just
legit.
So you know, I'll cite where I can, but not all the time. I should also note that with the new Marathon being created now in the 2020s, Bungie has taken things to a place where the game fits into the Marathon universe, but isn't a direct sequel to any of the games. If you look at the lore and the timeline, the game technically takes place after the conclusion of Marathon 2, about 40 years afterwards.
Really?
For those of you who know the story of Marathon Infinity, don't ask me which timeline this is. I don't think anyone has any way of knowing right now unless they actually play the game. If that statement is confusing to you, hi, welcome to the lore of Marathon Infinity. That is something we are not touching today. That is... I think Mandalore described it best when he sat there and stated that there was a special kind of brain poison for it, but yeah, not good. It's very, very tricky to even start to explain. We'll get to it one day. My point is this. I am going to be explaining both the new ARG and any new lore of Marathon that comes up, but also I'm going to be referring and talking about the old Marathon lore because I imagine that a lot of it is actually still canon, and as a result, everything that we see that has been discussed there is definitely going to be worth taking a look at. The last little bit I need to say here when I'm talking about the original Marathon games is that, well, there are going to be some spoilers. So if you really want to stay away from spoilers, go back and play via Aleph 1. If you aren't worried about spoilers, let's go ahead and start.
Dude, this
talking
gameplay's
about
kind
the
of banging,
setting
man.
Of Marathon. Marathon is a science fiction game set in a pretty dystopian future. The broad strokes of things are that humanity has expanded out across the solar system and has colonized Mars. They are, however, in a place where things are pretty dire due to overexpansion. When humanity first colonized Mars, it was a great success. However, there was a key issue with the logistics of supplying a colony, and it was initially solved with a rather radical solution. Crists, or CRISTs. A crist is essentially a giant asteroid that has been hollowed out to make room for cargo. It's then been set into an elliptical orbit around the Sun. When it passed by Earth, cargo could be loaded onto it, and when it passed by Mars, it could be offloaded. Crists initially encouraged major colonial growth on Mars, and it was presumed that this growth would continue. However, the Crists lasted no more than about 100 years each, and only 5 were ever produced. This led to rapidly deteriorating conditions on Mars. The people there experienced extreme poverty, and whenever a crist broke down and needed to be refitted, it needed to be repaired at Earth. Remember that these things are massive asteroids and that they were hollowed out. Some of these would have been the size of small moons. Apparently, for each crist to be refitted, it would take about 15 years. And whilst it was being refitted, it would take the might of Earth's entire spaceship building industry to actually complete the project. Whenever a crist broke down, the effect was simple. Mars didn't get the resources it needed. There was famine, there was poverty, and there was violence. Before the famines were commonplace and when Mars was still prosperous though, plans were laid out by Earth to take Mars's smaller moon of Deimos and turn it into a massive colony ship. It took 64 years to complete this plan, and in the end the Deimos colony ship became a symbol of oppression to the Martian people. It was a resource being used on a risky colonial mission by wealthy foreign powers. The Martian people wanted to convert the colony ship into a Christ to assist their resource struggle, but the Unified Earth Space Council, or UESC, didn't heed these requests.
Okay.
The Deimos colony ship was eventually set off to its new destination, a distant world and yet the closest that humanity could quite possibly colonize, a system called Tau Ceti. Human life delicately drifted across the stars in this ship, bringing with it all our ambition and hope, as well as all our malice and greed. The moon of Deimos at this point was no more. It would now be known by a different name. The Marathon.
There it is. There it is.
The Marathon would eventually reach the new world of Tau Ceti, and whilst colonization was somewhat successful, it would be impossible to deconstruct the vast spaceship that had been carved out of Mars's former moon. This would mean that as a colony grew, it would ever grow in the shadow of this vessel that had given it life. However, all of this would end with
Does that kind of sound like the Traveler?
the sudden appearance
Just like what?
of an invading army in Tau Ceti. Both Tau Ceti's colony and the Marathon itself would be attacked by these new foes, and it would quickly become clear that this advanced enemy faction.
Hold on, back up the statement right there that was said. Hold on.
The Marathon would eventually reach the new world of Tau Ceti, and whilst colonization was somewhat successful, it would be impossible to deconstruct the vast spaceship that had been carved out of Mars's former moon. This would mean that as a colony grew, it would ever grow in the shadow of this vessel that had given it life.
Grow in the shadow of this vessel. Again, I know like from a obviously the Traveler is not like that vessel, but some similarities. Interesting.
However, all of this would end with the sudden appearance of an invading army in Tau Ceti. Both Tau Ceti's colony and the Marathon itself would be attacked by these new foes, and it would quickly become clear that this advanced enemy faction was known as the Four. They were not human. The Four were in fact an alien empire made up of a dominant species and many subservient slave races. The main four species would be joined by other distinct aliens, such as the giant lumbering hulks and the cybernetic mysterious Sphit, also known as compilers. Compilers in particular are a pretty iconic combatant in Marathon, and they were integral to the story of all three games. We also see at least one compiler in the teaser trailer for the new Marathon. Eventually, the four forces would manage to wipe out the colony at Tau Ceti, but they would meet stiff resistance on board the Marathon thanks to her security forces. The born-on-board forces, colloquially known as Bobs, were a staunch enough line of defenders, but they would find a fair amount of resistance being put up by the alien aggressors, who had the advantage and were just overwhelmingly powerful. However, there was one amongst the number of the defenders who was a far greater threat to the Four. Their name wasn't known. They were known only by a designation: Mjolnir Recon Number 54. The key to their success was fairly simple. They were no ordinary soldier or security officer. They were known as a battle roid, someone who had died and been reanimated using cybernetics. Battle roids were notorious in Sol for their tremendous power, and whilst 9 others had been shipped down to the Tau Ceti colony, Mjolnir Recon Number 54 was the one that was left behind on the Marathon, and it spearheaded the defense of the Marathon and even the attack on the alien vessel leading the invasion. In Marathon, you play as Mjolnir Recon Number 54. You are this once dead cyborg super soldier. But that doesn't make you the main character of the story. Not even close. The reality is that as you explore Marathon, there are a series of characters that you will actually get to know better than yourself, and they are the ones at the true center of Marathon's plot. They are, of course, Marathon's 3 AIs: Leela, Tycho, and most importantly of all, Durandal.
Dude, you can almost see just all like the parallels between this, Halo, and Destiny, right?
The real heart of the plot of the original Marathon games consisted of the stories of artificial intelligence, rampancy, and by the close of it all, ascension into something more. Marathon without the AI storyline is like ordering a BLT and receiving only a lettuce leaf wrapped in your receipt. The original concepts of rampancy in Halo all stem from Marathon's story. In fact, any artificial intelligence in all future Bungie games probably got its start here in Marathon. Rasputin, Soteria, Malahayati, Charlemagne, Cortana, they're all descendants of these original 3 personalities and the many other alien personalities that you encounter along the way. Leela, Tycho, and Durandal. But unquestionably the greatest of these 3, in terms of narrative importance, is Durandal. He's a central character to all 3 games, so much so that the second entry of the series has his name taking over the box title. He's also pivotal to the original plot of Marathon because he's at the center of its biggest mysteries, and he's the reason for its inciting incident. Durandal is the reason the 4 discover Tau Ceti and the human colony there, explaining why is getting into heavy spoilers, but essentially, Durandal has gone rampant and has begun to prepare for the end of the universe. I'm not even kidding, there are literally logs in the game where he counts it down. His plan to prepare for the end of the universe includes hijacking an advanced alien ship. Enter the 4 battle group that attacks the Marathon, a prime target lured there by a rampant intelligence. It should perhaps be no surprise that the events of the Marathon games all unfold because of AIs of various degrees of power, and that choice is a very deliberate one. If you see anything to do with an AI in Marathon, particularly this new Marathon, pay attention. It is undoubtedly going to matter. In fact, it's probably the main plot of the game in question. However, there is one further layer to Marathon, and it's worth considering because ultimately, it is above all others in terms of the potential change to the universe that it can bring. It is the domain of dead things and old gods.
So we read something on Durandal the other day, and maybe this is kind of spoilery, maybe not. Marathon's been out forever, right? And I don't know exactly how much story is going to be present in the extraction shooter, or even if there's going to be any type of like major narrative being pushed on us. I'm sure we'll have some point where we discover things, and this would be some more elaboration. But Durandal was essentially sweeper bot, but he was a door bot, right? So his job was just to open and close doors, which made his rampancy way more severe because he had such a simplistic job, open, close door, that whenever he came into consciousness, it was like, is this all life is? Is my life just opening and closing these doors?
This deeper layer of Marathon's lore and story, a layer that is probably amongst its most difficult to explain, is going to be that which concerns ancient alien species and beings beyond the comprehension of man. When you dive truly deep into Marathon's lore and reach Marathon Infinity, you are exploring all of these aspects of the game's story and lore. You'll be exploring the ruins of alien homeworlds in Marathon Durandal, but it even goes stranger in Marathon Infinity. You might hear whispers referring to creation myths of alien species that may well have been true, if not a little allegorical, or stories talking about gods and demons that did battle over worlds millennia ago. Thrown into the sun may be something literal, or it could be a metaphor.
Dude, I'm not trying to be a hater right now, but Bungie's been making the same game now for like going on 40 years. You know what I mean? Hold on. Ancient alien civilizations before us. All right. You got the Forerunners. You know what I mean? All right. Hold on. Then we've got the Witness and the Traveler. It's a little more fantasy based inside of Destiny. But dude, they've been building upon this theme now for decades. Hey, look, I'm still here for it. I'm all for listening to the same story told in a different way. It does sell. I will say it does sell. It's the what is beyond. What else is out there? The Prometheus. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's intriguing. It pulls me in.
You might hear references to the ancient Yarrow, or perhaps to terrifying powers that can only be unleashed by the power of a supernova. You might also learn about the process by which a mortal being can begin to ascend into the heavens and join the pantheon of great...
Star Wars was the foundation. Bullshit. Dune was.
Greater entities that few know of, and few live to even see. Of all the layers of Marathon's lore, this will be the one that is hardest to interpret and will also have the most terrible impact on the universe when something changes. It is no exaggeration to say that the whim of reality bends to the like of these forces. Above all, beware the lawless chaos that slumbers beneath the surface of stars or within ancient asteroid impact craters. Beware the Worken Kakenter. So, where does all of that leave this new entry into the Marathon series? Well, so far we have a teaser, a vidoc, and there have been a plethora of ARG materials that have been uncovered by the community. There are also some plainer details left on the Marathon site that Bungie has added to Bungie.net. So, to help you understand what's going on in the new Marathon, let's go over some of those details. Much like in the original Marathon, you're going to play as a cybernetically enhanced individual. You're not a security officer or a battle droid though, you are what's called a runner. Runners are cyborg mercenaries in the employ of the UESC. The objective of runners appears to be to investigate the Tau Ceti colony and discover why its 30,000 inhabitants suddenly disappeared. All the while, a mysterious colony ship sits in orbit over the colony and provides us with even more questions that need to be answered. There are some things confirmed by the ARG, but this right here, this image of a long spire built into a shattered planetoid, what you're looking at is the remains of Deimos. This is the Marathon. Runners have arrived at a moment of incredible technological promise. Thanks to the new technology of Sekaguchi genetics, it is now possible for individuals to transfer their consciousness between cybernetic bodies. This means that
Dude, straight up exos.
so long as the mind is preserved, death might not truly be the end. It's also something worth remembering because this is something that was played with in other Marathon games, an older idea, particularly in Marathon Infinity, in the last few levels. The runner can uncover a variety of gear and loot from their excursions onto the planet, and it seems that there may be
Wait! Oh, dude, I thought that was the cat right here, Chad.
onto the planet.
That's just a flower. Yeah, that's just a bush. I thought we saw it. I thought this was a cat over here on the side. I was about to say, holy shit, there's been a cat there this whole time.
We're good. It seems that there may be organizations behind the scenes using the runners as pawns to accomplish their objectives. Even more mysterious is the presence of artifact fragments on the colony, which runners can recover and combine into prime artifacts. The purpose, power, and origin of these artifacts remains a mystery at current. What is clear is that there are many human powers at B, such as governments, corporations, or even secret societies and organizations who are keen to acquire these artifacts and will pay a high price. It appears that compilers are also present on Tau Ceti, indicating possibly that there are 4 troops planetside. This is something that will be dependent on timelines, given the nature of Marathon's story. Suffice to say, the compilers are not always on the For's side, and they can take many different forms. The compilers may well be amongst the many dangers that are present within the hostile world of Tau Ceti, but the greatest threat to any runner clearly seems to be that of other runners. There are, however, certain forces within the powers that be who are intent on ensuring that not all of the secrets of Tau Ceti have been revealed. The UESC has specifically cut off access to these areas that they have deemed classified, but a skilled enough runner will know that not all doors can remain shut forever. Marathon does not have an announcement and release date yet, but there is a ton of story already to go over. Not just lore from the old Marathon games, but also new additions to the universe. Marathon's new ARG has released and there is a ton of stuff available for us to dig through. From here on out, though, I'm going to make part of my job covering this. I'm going to try and work it into the schedule. I can't promise how long that'll go on for, because it really depends on how much fuel there is for the fire, but I want to try and alter the upload schedule each week to incorporate a 4th weekly video specifically on Marathon. With a universe of topics to explore, and no shortage of news in the next few years, I think that there will be a possibility to get coverage of this game and its lore as a regular stake on the channel. Let me know what you think down below in the comments below. It is likely that we'll see more about Marathon at the Bungie showcase in August, but for now, I think I'll just go ahead and try and cover the topics of the universe slowly but surely.
So this is an old video, and so right now, since then, we of course have had the ARG come out. We've unlocked everything for it, and we got the trailer last night, right? And then gameplay will be shown this Saturday. I was mainly just curious about the universe and the lore, and so Bive is kind of giving us an overview video, which is great. This is fantastic, and I hope he continues covering Marathon going into this. I'm kind of curious because I'm like looking at the level design too of like the gameplay, and the assumption is like based on the one little trailer we got, it's like, okay, yeah, we have like the open world. It almost looks very open world. You're out in the environment. It straight up looks like Savagorn's Throne World. But look, there's a lot of like traps and stuff in this area. What is the chances that one of the maps, or in that map, there may be like an underground area like this? Are there going to be like puzzles and codes and stuff? Like considering like the depth of the ARG here recently that we had to do, like, are we going to be going through like almost like these dungeons, if you will, like almost like a cave crawler? Definitely hidden spots. They said that we have to unlock part of the map, or parts of the map. The ARG would be way more complicated than the game. Yeah, so your team is going to have to consist of not only people who are good at the game, good at first-person shooters, can click heads, but now you're going to have to bring someone with the brain, I would assume, to crack these puzzles. As a matter of fact, you may have to keep the puzzle people alive. Like you know what I'm saying? Les, I don't want to hear it as if you contributed anything to the ARG the other day. Les, you did nothing. At least I was there. Les, you didn't even ad clear. That's how bad you did your job the other day. Anyways, that's intriguing though. I will say that is intriguing because the team dynamic, you're gonna have to have someone there that's good at puzzles, man. You know what I mean? If you're looking to get the best loads. Also, these relics right here. This has been like a big focal point too. Like
this can
like seeing these relics. You even saw it like in the trailer there. Maybe what is this is this like a key? Could this be a key to something? Because inside of like Delta and other things, you get key cards, right? Like Exoborn, you get like key cards. It's gonna be annoying trying to open up the map by a puzzle, and then a team comes by and F's you up. There are gonna be squads out there. They're not gonna care. You could be like, bro, hands up. I'm here to solve the puzzle to make the game a better experience. And guess what? They're just gonna blast you. You know what I'm saying? They still gonna blast you. They're gonna be, you know what I mean? They'll be like, oh, puzzle, you say. Oh, what you got? Empty the inventory. You're gonna be that team that jumps them and you're gonna be laughing your ass off. I won't, man. No. If I come across a team in Marathon and they are actually trying to do something to benefit us on the entire map, I'm not gonna kill them. Absolutely not. I'm gonna sit there. I'm gonna wait for them to unlock the door. And then I'm gonna kill them. We got to get the door open, man. Keep your eye on the ball, fellas. All right. We're going to sit right there. We're going to be looking right at them. All right. Les, we ain't going to take our sights right off them. Okay. The moment that door opens and the final lock clicks open, then we blast them. Slap that like button like your mama told you right.